Russian President Vladimir Putin has his sights set on billionaire Bill Browder, accusing him of stealing millions from Russia and illegally donating $400,000 to Hillary Clinton. Jack Posobiec caught up with Lee Stranahan and has more from Washington.
We're here with Lee Stranahan, D.C. journalist, Sputnik News. Lee, tell me a little bit about Bill Browder. This is a story that you've been covering a lot, and then when both you and I were in Helsinki, we actually heard, lo and behold, President Putin of Russia also brought up this name.
Bill Browder is the central figure who's been pushing an anti-Russia narrative.
Is he a U.S. citizen?
He used to be. He was born here, but he renounced his U.S. citizenship to avoid paying taxes. And it's also significant for this reason.
What did he pick up?
He's a British citizen.
Picked up British. So that's a lot of tax.
And the reason why is in Britain at the time, they didn't. You didn't have to pay taxes on money you made overseas. So Browder made all his money in Russia in the 90s. He was the biggest hedge fund manager in Russia, foreign hedge fund manager in Russia in the 90s.
And this was during the 90s when Russia's economy really was kind of like a free-for-all.
It was just after the fall of the Soviet Union. And it was a disaster because what they did was they had everything was owned by the state. So suddenly they said, well, it's all now going to be private. But they wanted to help the people, so they gave them these vouchers. But the people didn't know what to do with the vouchers. So they were trading them for like $7 or something like that. And people like Browder went around buying up the vouchers, and they could buy a company that was worth like $10 million for, I'm not joking, for like $5,000 cash output. And this was all under the Clinton administration.
So they didn't have a market mechanism to really take those government-owned enterprises and make them private. So you had people like Browder coming in with, and as we've now learned, the support, the help of a lot of people in the Clinton administration, the Clinton team, and Yeltsin for the '96 election.
And this is important because Browder himself was a big Clinton supporter. In fact, you can go back to the New York Times to the story 2004, where it says he's a huge Democratic supporter. That's who the guy is.
What essentially was Putin accusing him of, this stealing of the money?
He had been committing tax fraud in Russia, okay? And he had these shell companies that were in Cyprus, places like that, and he was committing tax fraud.
How much money are we talking about, bottom line?
Tens of millions to hundreds of millions of dollars.
Basically, Putin's whole point is that he wants this guy extradited. He wants him back to stand trial in Russia for taking all this money.
He's been convicted in Russia.
Oh, okay.
He's been convicted in Russia. So what Browder's goal is just to keep himself out of prison.
Was this going, as Putin suggested, to the Clinton Foundation or the Clinton campaign?
Yeah, well, that's the accusation.
Right.
And it's through these people called the Ziff brothers. The Ziff brothers are the heirs to the Ziff magazine fortune. And they're big Hillary donors. And the accusation is that the money went through Browder, through the Ziffs. Does that make sense?
Okay.
When the Steele dossier came out, Jonathan Weiner is the guy who gave it to John Kerry. Jonathan Weiner is Bill Browder's top guy. He's his top lobbyist. Right? And Bill Browder's got connections to the Steele dossier all over the place.
So bottom line, $400,000 went to Hillary from essentially Russian sources.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and not just Russian sources. Browder made his money in Russia. But here's the thing. Do you know who he's backed by? HSBC. HSBC, of course, one of the biggest banks in the world, heavily involved in money laundering. And who was on the board of HSBC?
James Comey.
James Comey, exactly right. So that's literally who was backing Browder. So Browder's involved with those guys as well. And I think there's a reason that Comey was brought into the HSBC board. And it's part of the layer of protection that Browder's got. He's very connected to Republicans like McCain and Democrats like Cardin, to people in the FBI like Comey through HSBC, and that's what's going on.
Yeah. I want to thank you so much for coming on today for One America News, helping to break down this incredible story and explaining to our viewers what's really going on with Bill Browder.
Yeah, thank you for covering it, Jack.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube, and call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.